Huzzah, Rangers! This is Phil Harris here at the Jacks Rangers Show. I am joined this evening with a good friend of the show, our outrider himself, Bozo6. Bozo, how the hell are you?
I'm good, but that chug is still a 2 out of 5, 2.5 out of 10. It was weak. Weak.
Yeah, that was not the best. That was not my best moment. I'm not a chugger, man. I'll drink a beer, but I'm not going to chug it. You know what I mean? But hey, the championship trophy was there. So what are you going to do? You're going to drink beer out of it. We also have Ethan Fryer. He is a Free Jacks player, a flanker for the New England Free Jacks. Ethan, how the hell are you?
Doing great, Phil. How are you?
Excellent, my friend. Excellent. So glad you're able to join us on the show this evening. I wanted to, before we get into your background, I wanted to talk about some recent developments with the Free Jacks. We're finally getting some transaction announcements with some of our draft picks being signed on officially, but we've had two departures of Canadian players. Hashtag Canada South is being threatened right now, but I have a little bit of I don't want to say inside information. I think we're going to be all right in the Canada South front. Let's talk about Regan O'Gorman heading off to LA, and also just recently announced Spencer Bones Jones heading out to Utah. Just your impressions of those guys, and I'm sure you're going to miss them as Canadians.
Yeah, Spencer will be a huge loss. He was
Yep.
only here for a year, but he played really well when he got out there. He was a good guy.
Hmm.
Got to know him a little bit while he was here.
Yep.
Regan, though, like Regan has been around for as long as I've been here.
Yep.
He's an awesome guy. I got a bit closer with him last year, so
Hmm.
definitely hard to see him leave. Yeah, it's crazy, but that's kind of what the MLR is. Like the
Yeah, man.
teams are going to change every year, whether it's a little bit or a lot. Like you sort of
Yeah.
have to roll with it. So
Absolutely. TK knows what he's doing. He's proven himself as maybe the best GM in MLR, if not the best, in top three for sure. So, you have to trust in the process, trust in TK, hashtag in TK we trust for sure. I think Bozo was posting that earlier in our Outriders chat. Appreciate that. But yeah, man, like this is what happens. I think Dave said it the best, like it not this past offseason, but the one prior to that. Like the ideal scenario is just having everybody come back, right? But unfortunately, that's just not the reality of professional sports. You're going to have some turnover. But I wanted to get back to your background here. Let's start it out right, as we always do on the show. Where are you from?
well, I grew up in Seattle for about as long as I can remember. I
Hmm.
like when I was a little baby, I lived in Iowa for a bit, I lived in Calgary for a bit.
Wow.
But no, grew up in Seattle. That's where I played all my sort of rugby going up
Hmm.
until I was about 17 at Eastside Lions Rugby Club. So I grew up playing there with Chris Prentice's kids. He's the owner of the Seawolves. A
Okay.
ton of big rugby names in that area. They sort of like Waisali Serevi, Ben Gollings. They all would come around to help. So it's definitely a big hub there for
Hmm.
rugby, and I guess a lot of people don't know about it, and we don't necessarily have that many teams, but our state team does well, and that was huge just growing up there. Um, then after that, when I was about 17, I moved away to go around. Just I was traveling for about a year. I was in Ireland for a bit in an academy there,
Hmm.
and then I went to Inside Running, Mike's Academy in New Zealand.
Yep.
So that's sort of how I made that connection, and yeah, on from there, I went on to Canada for a bit, and then when Mike called me back when he got to the Free Jacks, that was just a huge opportunity. Professional rugby
Incredible.
is was always the goal. So
Right. Going back to Seattle, I met your family when I was on my dream away trip last season at the Seattle Seawolves. Very, very nice people. I just really enjoyed chatting with them. So glad that I was able to meet them and interact with them there in Seattle. Seattle's a great place, man. Like, Bose, I don't know if you've been. You got to get out there at some point. It's a fantastic city. A bit dreary, of course, but the coffee's fantastic out there. But yeah, really, really enjoyed my time in Seattle. I'm sure it was a great place to grow up. You're kind of alluding to you've been all over the world, but I wanted to ask you because you're a dual citizen guy, USA and also Canadian citizenship, and you've been involved in both the USA rugby setup to a certain extent and also Rugby Canada, the age grade teams, what have you. I got to ask, is there a preference with the Eagles or the Maple Leafs, or is it whoever calls you on whatever given day is what jersey you're putting on?
ooh, that's a loaded question.
It is.
Well, I grew up in the U.S., so
Yeah.
it's definitely like as I was growing up, the Eagles were more in my mind.
Mhm.
Kind of around the time when I um, turned 17, I'd say,
Mhm.
I started transitioning more over to the Canada side because while there's a great, their U20 coaching group
Mhm.
was just the best, like the probably the best developmental coaches that I've ever had. Like Adam
Wow.
Roberts um, was huge for me in my development, just like being an advocate for me as a player,
Mhm.
and that's something that like they really invested in me in that way, which I really appreciated. Uh, Now my focus is more on kind of seeing what I can do in the MLR and
Mhm.
kind of opening up those opportunities for me. But no, I have a lot of pride in Canada as well. Like I love the country. I lived up there for a year or two, or 2 years, yeah. And then and my dad's from there. That'd be huge for him, obviously, to see me go play for Canada, especially
Right.
like having moved down to the U.S. You'd never think your kid would go play for your home country. But
Sure.
yeah, it's kind of a toss up. I get turfed by the Canadians a lot for not having picked, but
Right.
yeah, it's kind of the state I'm in right now, where I'm not 100% sure, but I like both options, and it's just gonna come down to how it rolls, I guess.
I gotta tell you, Ethan, I know that you were born and raised in the United States, but you got a bit of a Q twang to you, my friend. There's a bit of a Canadian accent going on there for sure. Like, Bozo, do you hear it as well? He's got that, like, if you
Oh,
close
I
your
pick it
eyes
up.
and listen,
Yeah,
it's almost
yeah.
like Andrew Quatron's talking to us right now,
Well, hey,
man.
I'm not the one to give rugby career advice, but career like this would be a super plot twist. You should just turn your back on both those sides, move to
Whoa.
Ireland, and qualify through 3 years of residency. They got a great. Just saying, that'd be
Yeah, that's
wild.
something to do.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Just be like, oh, you want to chirp
Easy.
me? Here we go. I'm just gonna go to Ireland. They love those 3 year residency players over there. 4 more years. 4 years.
Wow.
Sorry, I just had to
Well,
throw out some daggers.
well, they'll lose in the quarterfinals anyway,
It's
regardless.
true. It's
So
true. You
there
might go
you
out in the next Rugby World Cup quarterfinal though, so that's not good.
hilarious.
But at least you'll
We
make it there. I don't think U.S. or Canada will. So
that's true.
just
There you
saying.
Oh,
go.
we'll make it somewhere. It's turning up. There are quite a few good young players in both. Like I've had the opportunity to kind of meet um, a lot of the players in my age group for both countries, and
Mhm.
it's definitely there's a ton of talent there. I think it'll just come to organization and how they're funneling guys up. But there's definitely the talent there to at least be well doing better than we are now. Like it's not the
You're in a
case
unique
anymore where
spot.
you
It's
got to
not a
take
bad spot
so
to be.
many expats, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the optimism, man. We need a little bit more of that on this show for USA Rugby specifically. But
You ain't gonna get it from me.
no, no, I'm not. That's the truth right there. So you're a young gun. You mentioned earlier how you've kind of been all over the world in terms of the academies that you visited. Bozo's so disgusted with my question. He's actually just got up and left. But Eagle Impact is one. University of Victoria, there in Canada, Ireland, and even down to New Zealand as part of Mike Rogers' Inside Running Academy. Want to give them a shout out for sure. You mentioned them earlier. Which of these stops was the most influential, do you think, in your rugby development? I'm sure you gathered, quite a bit from every single place, but is there
Yeah.
one place in, particular that you're like, this, that I really cut my teeth here?
Well, I mean, just mentally, there was a huge turning point for me because when I went to Ireland, I was
Mhm.
only 17. I don't think I was necessarily ready
Mhm.
to live alone and then to go in a country where obviously it's cold and wet all the time.
Right.
And there was some struggles playing there. I felt like because of the rules, I wasn't allowed to play men's, but then the club rugby there, like a lot of the under 18s, all the competitions in the schools, and there isn't as much in the clubs there. So I got really frustrated being there, and the academy that I was at was great, and Dan Van Zyl runs it, and he's even been a great advocate for me after leaving there, but it wasn't the right fit for me, and I started to wonder like is rugby what I should be doing? Like, am I really cut
Mhm.
out for this? Wherever I go, I'm going to be training hard every day. So if I'm not able to do that here, how am I going to be able to do it anywhere?
Right.
And then making the move down to New Zealand after that, in Mount Maunganui, beautiful beach town, super sunny. I made a couple amazing friends there and just kind of had more of that community aspect. And then
Mhm.
under Mike Rogers, like he helped me with a lot of my defensive work. Tackling used to actually be a big work on for me,
Nice.
which is a bit weird as a flanker,
It's
but it
true.
was.
Yeah.
And it just sort of that transition from like a really low moment to a high moment has kind of let me keep the faith through COVID, through all those delays that were
Mhm.
happening. So I'd say that's probably the most. I don't know if I'd give it to one or the other because I definitely needed to be brought down low for that, for inside running to have such an effect on me. So
Sure. Yeah, man. We know Big Shep, who helps out with the academy there in Ireland, and obviously Mike Rogers, love him. Been on the show many, many times as the assistant coach of the Free Jacks. Wish him the best of luck down there in Manawatu. He's got quite a project to rebuild that team. But two wins better than nothing for sure. So
yep.
we'll see what happens next year. So glad that he was able to bring so many Free Jacks down there to experience the NPC as well. You were signed on as a development player in 2021 and have worked your way up through the independents and eventually were signed to the Free Jack squad ahead of last year. Or last season rather. How did you find out that you were being signed to the roster, and what was going through your mind when you got that news?
When I kind of transitioned from a development player to,
Yeah.
yeah, so it was at the end of my 2021 season.
Hmm.
Actually, they I had a conversation with both Mike and Scott, and they said, we really appreciate the work you've been putting in. The improvement from the beginning of the year to the end of the year has just been big, so we want to reward you with a game. So
Hmm.
I got moved up to an APC contract, so I was eligible to play. And then I played in one game against Toronto. It wasn't our best game as a team,
I know I was
but
there.
yeah, but it was huge because I have so much family in Toronto, like my uncles and aunts there, and all my cousins, and I believe my grandparents came too, and it was just like that whole moment coming full circle. And I didn't
Mhm.
play much in that game, but that was definitely a huge moment for me. And then going into last year, already kind of having at least one little tester game under my belt,
Mhm.
and I expanded upon it last year. It's going to come down to like, can I actually forge a regular spot in the team this year? But that's on me. We have a few less foreign spots this year, so this is a really good open year for me to kind of make my mark if I take it. So I'm
Absolutely. I
excited.
mean, last year was like a murderer's row in terms of the depth that they were in that
Yeah,
loose
it was
forward
crazy.
position, man. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, we had when you look, I'm sure in years that will go by, we will look back and be like, can you believe the stacked lineup that we had in those loose forwards? Like, it was insane. So, I'm sure it's like, we're really, really pushing for you because you've been around for a while. You appreciate the show, you're a friend of the show. Like, we're really pulling for you to take that next step and make an impact on this roster, get on the 23 frequently and stuff like that. But I know that you've been working in the off season at Crescent Farms, which is the family
yeah,
farm of Cam Davidowitz. His dad, Mike, and mom, Debbie, are real characters, great people, folks. If you haven't gotten your pumpkins or any type of, that type of thing, go there and get them there because it's grown right there on the farm, as fresh as can be. Everything is fantastic there. Highly recommend it. And it's Free Jacks helping Free Jacks. So get your butt out there to Crescent Farms, folks. They also have like a corn maze as well. They got ice cream
yep, and a
there.
pumpkin patch. Yep.
Yep, pumpkin patch as well. There you go. Any good stories about working on the farm that you can share? Because it's owned by some really wacky characters.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time I've just been working with Cody, Cam's
Yep.
brother. He plays for Mystic River.
Hmm.
Me and Holden and a few of the Mystic guys have just been working more under him.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's crazy. Like every day, there's something wild, from some machine trouble to Cody completely disregarding his own safety with certain things. I'm sure uh, that might get me in trouble with him saying that, but
No, no, nobody's gonna see this.
yeah, no. But no, it's always crazy. Like, and then just helping them with kind of broken out cows and going, you kind of learn what it's like to work with these massive animals, because you don't think about it, you think it's just a cow. Like
Mhm.
even like instinctively you're kind of scared of the bulls.
Right.
But then even just the other day, like I was trying to push a cow to move it because one of them wasn't listening to Cody, and you're not moving it. Like if it doesn't want to go with you,
Right.
you got nothing. So I had to pull the truck out, give a few honks to the horn, and get it going. No,
There
but
you
it's
go.
crazy. Like I like being outside. I like the work. Don't mind hard work. It's been really good experience. It's good guys too there. So
100%. Fantastic family for sure. I'm sure Cam, now that he's back from New Zealand, is itching to get back on the farm and work his tail off. Going to be
yeah, I've
playing for
seen him a few
Mystic as
times.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
he
Love that
took
guy.
a couple days off, I think, when he got back. But then no, I've been seeing him more often now.
Yeah, he's stuck back
Back to
into
the
it for
work.
sure. Yeah. I know he was missing it. So, yeah, that's awesome that he's back in the swing of things. You've been playing for Mystic. You mentioned it earlier that Cody plays for Mystic. You also play for Mystic. Cam plays for Mystic. You guys are North Division champions in the American Rugby Premiership. Talk about your season so far. It must be nice to be able to play with like 6 or 7 rostered Free Jacks as well in the MLR offseason. You guys got a big playoff game this weekend against White Plains, right?
Yeah, White Plains this weekend.
Yep.
No, it's been insane. I missed the first game as I was coming back from a concussion in New Zealand.
Mhm.
But coming back in, like it's crazy. The front row every game they're all MLR players, like active MLR players.
Mhm.
We get in the locks in the back row. Like in the back row, we got Neil is a crazy good player. Like I'd never heard of him before or anything, but he's a guy. He's actually playing in Seattle, so that was a cool little connection. He knows a few of my friends back there.
That's awesome.
So him and Billy's a great player.
Yep.
And then obviously in our backs, like we've got Holden. Dougie's been making quite a few appearances. We had Mitch for a while. He's out now.
Mhm.
But no, it's crazy because you think you're playing club, but half the guys on the field, even on some of the other teams,
That's right.
are MLR level players. So it's
Absolutely.
definitely grown up because last year the ARP was, I wouldn't say quite at the level that it is this year.
Right. Right. And I think that's this thing. That's a thing where like each year it will get better and better because it's not a official pathway, I guess, but it is definitely a place where guys like yourself, development players, or guys that just want to get a run out that aren't, on NPC teams somewhere else, you guys need to be playing all year round. So the best way to do that in the United States in the offseason in the MLR is the American Rugby Premiership. So I encourage everybody listening to this to make sure you're to go to one of these games. If you're in the New England area, come out to Mystic, watch the games because these are the stars of tomorrow playing today. And some of them, I mean, Dougie Fife, guys, is playing for Mystic. Mitch Wilson, a capped USA Eagle, a current one, is playing for Mystic. Like, what more do I need to say to get you out to see Mystic River? Like, come out and see the games. It's awesome. Final question for me here. Former assistant coach Mike Rogers said that you have the potential to be an international player, which is high praise. What do you need to improve upon your game to take the next step in your development, do you think?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One thing, and this is something I've been told since I was pretty young, like even back up in Canada before I even came to the Free Jacks, I've always been told like to play at that next level, you need to get your weight up. But that's been a gradual thing. Been gaining weight over the past couple years while I've been here. It's just so you're durable at the MLR level. Like I can come in and play, but then the amount that I get beat up versus the guys that especially have that more body mass, upper body mass especially. It's just a big difference in how you can keep backing up performances throughout the season, but also just I think getting into the detail, getting into the learning of it, and just learning the maps down to heart at multiple positions. And that's one thing when you're coming in off the bench or you're going to be asked to fulfill multiple positions, it can seem, I mean, in the middle of a training week when you're a bit flustered, it can seem unfair, but that's just what you're going to have to do. I'm going to have to know 6, 7, sometimes even 8 for training.
Yep.
And just being on top of that, I think is my main work on. Like I can certain things, if I get it down, I'm all set. But just becoming more of a well-rounded rugby player in that way.
Mhm.
Because as you come up, especially in the US, there's some teams and academies they're great at teaching you the skills, and you'll get the playing time and kind of that more general rugby knowledge. But being at the Free Jacks was probably the first time that I had like a more structured game plan like that, and having to know all
Mhm.
these different things before coming into a game and having these real specific roles to deal with. So that's obviously a transition, and it's a good thing that TK and Scott and Mike, while he was here, they kind of allowed me the time to progress in that way, because who knows what would happen. They just throw me out there without having that experience under my belt where that stuff's mastered. That can end up backfiring in a lot of ways. So
Sure.
it's frustrating sometimes, like having to wait your turn a bit. But if I come in and it's all mastered, then that's what you want, and then they can feel confident putting me out there.
Absolutely.
That's probably my big next step. There's you can obviously improve in everything, and even some of my strengths, like I consider myself quite good over the breakdown, and even that, like there's little tweaks, and I'm really excited. Palm Simona coming in,
Mhm.
that seems like his area of expertise. So
Oh, yeah. Yep.
excited to be working with him this year. Excited to be working with Scott again. Will, yeah, just pumped for this year. I think if my details down and I do the kind of off-season S&C work that I'm supposed to do, I think this could be a really good year for me.
Hell yeah. I think so as well. We're rooting for you, of course. I'm gonna let Bozo take over. I appreciate your time.
Gotta love these interviews because you have questions prepared, and then in the course of our conversation, they just kind of get answered. So I'll have to skip my first one here, but luckily we didn't send it to you beforehand. So
What was it?
it was basically what were you going to work on, but you just went over
Oh, yeah.
a couple of good ones. So get bigger, no more positions, be versatile. Got it. Check.
Yeah.
Safe. Works out. But no, those are great work-ons, and I think that was a great answer to your question. But being from the Pac Northwest, I got a good pivot question here, kind of circling a little bit away from rugby. How long have you been here, actually living full time in the Boston area?
In Boston since I believe it was March of 2021.
All right, cool. So you've been here for a while. So you've been pretty settled in. Nice. And you've worked at
Yeah,
a
in
couple
and out.
different.
Like I'll go back home for a bit sometimes, but yeah, pretty much
Awesome.
just in Boston.
Now, are you in because they had like player houses and stuff like that? Are you in like player housing, or are you out on your own?
Yes, I'm in player housing right now. We got a bit of staff mixed in right now because the off season, and they don't keep too many of the houses, but
Right.
yeah, been in there.
Awesome. So kind of we'll get back to rugby now. So that was a quick curiosity question because I didn't know if you stayed in Seattle during the off season. But what player has had the greatest impact on you since joining the Free Jacks?
Since joining the Free Jacks,
Maybe should have sent this one as prep so you could think about it.
yeah,
We're
no,
doing it
that's all
live.
right. That's all right. I'd say both Joe Johnston and Mitch Jacobson have been pretty huge. Just in, especially with Joe, we've got quite a similar build, and we do a lot of the same things. He's obviously a lot more experienced than I am, and he's played at that level for a lot longer. But just having a bit of that model, and then having someone that I can directly compete against in training every week has been huge. And then Cam's in that same way. We're slightly different players. We're not quite as comparable, but just it's been me and him. We're kind of the domestic guys, like working to get a spot, and he's got that spot now, and I got to go follow him up. But then Mitch Jacobson just coming in, he does have this wealth of knowledge, and having a more experienced guy like that and seeing his habits every day, and like after every training he'd be working on his tackles, like hitting the bag. He never stops with trying to improve his micro skills and stuff like that, and he's completely on top of all of his roles and everything, and kind of learning like more of that professional aspect of being a player has been huge for me. Maybe outside of my position, what would I say? I mean, it's huge just learning from all the American guys that are making it at that level, because and seeing kind of the routes they took, because a lot of them took a much longer route than I did because there wasn't the MLR around when they were my age. So
Right.
like guys like Holden, and he's was at Nolan for a while and now he's up here, and just like knowing that you can sort of make a career out of that and seeing them go on that journey has been really instructive for me. So I mean, yeah, I guess there's not really one player, but that's the best answer I can give you.
No, that completely fine. We do that all the time here on the Jacks Ranger Show. We ask you for one thing and we get like 3 or 4. It's pretty much you're on brand, so I love it. As Phil would say,
Cool.
you love
Good
to
to
see
know.
it. You love to see it. And then you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but maybe I just kind of wanted you to expand on like your short, mid, and kind of long term goals in rugby going forward.
Well, short term, in terms of just for this next season, I want to get out on the field, because last year, I mean, I went down with the USA Hawks down to South America. I did get some quality game time, but it's when you're around that, like around the Free Jacks and the whole team, like there's nothing you want more than you're just itching to get in there, and that can be an entirely different experience. Um, Going from my focus is training every week and preparing the guys, and it is showing the coaches what I can do, so maybe they'll give me a look, but it's not quite the same thing as I'm here, I'm in this team, I have responsibilities, I'm going to play for my teammates, and I'm going to like really have that direct role in winning games and getting championships and all that. So that's my step one, like, or I guess there's steps in between there, but the first goal is going to be really making more of an impact on this team this year. And long term, I mean, I'd love to play in a World Cup someday. I think that's definitely a possibility. Just with how everything's going with the World Cup being in the US in, is it the, not the next one but the one after?
2031. Yep.
8 years,
2031.
yeah. That's hugely exciting for me. That'd probably be the number one goal. I mean, there's a lot of steps to get in between that, and I think the first step of that is really cementing a professional career, and then the international stuff will all come, and then but yeah, those are kind of my main goals. I mean, I'd hope to someday be able to make some bit of money that I can then save up, but I know with rugby that's a long road, and you need to earn your stripes before you can do that. So I don't
Yeah.
mind kind of scrounging it for a little bit.
Hey, scrounge while you're young. You can work the rest of your
Yeah.
life, man. You know, you're talking to 2 old goats here that we like to fantasize on this show that we could have been Free Jacks, but we both know it's not it was never going to be a thing, even if they were there
Hell
when we
no.
were younger. But you got that opportunity now. You are there. You've played a couple of matches, and yeah, I would say scrounge and fight for it all you can. And we'd love to see you run out a World Cup, whether you're in the red, white, and blue of the USA or Canadian red or white, or I think their alternate strip is black with red.
Yeah, red
trim.
and white,
I really
and they do
really
black
dig
too,
that
yeah.
one. Yeah, I dig that one a lot. So whichever side you're on, we'll be rooting for you. Unless you're in Canada and you're playing the USA, then we'll be like that. It'll
Then
be
I'm
like
out
one
of
of
luck.
these.
Yep.
Well, no, we'll be like it'll be
Golf
like a
clap.
little. Yeah,
Yep.
it'll be like, oh, we know that guy. Yeah, he's the guy. We know him. Yeah, it'll be one of those. So, have you got around New England much since living up here? And if so, like, what are your kind of like favorite spots? Because it's a small area, so and it's quite diverse. Like, you got Stowe, you got the Cape, you can go up to Acadia in Maine, and then the White Mountains in New Hampshire. Have you visited any of these places?
I've gone. It took me a while, and I've started to enjoy New England a lot more. Kind of getting out of the city. I like Boston, but I didn't grow up in the city, so you kind of just end up missing that green and kind of the open spaces and some of the quiet. So just this last year with my girlfriend, we've been going up pretty much every weekend to farms for raw milk and cheese and meat and all that, pretty religiously. So kind of having that ability to go out, see nature. Sometimes there's some cows you can pet or whatever, so that's pretty refreshing. Went out to the Cape for the first time last summer. That was huge. Um, yeah, I really like kind of the more rural areas. It feels pretty homely. Like it's different plant life and everything, but just driving along those roads, it feels like home. So it's been really cool.
Nice. So when you went to the Cape, did you go to the bay side or the ocean side?
I didn't really know. I was getting led around the whole time.
It's all right.
Yeah, but
Cape expert
there's
here,
this one.
Bozo Six.
Yeah,
I'm a
this one
Bayside
really
guy
famous beach
myself.
we
I'm a
went to.
Bayside guy. So I don't like the ocean side. It's too cold. I'm too old. Bayside is the side for me. So I relax in the bay. So that's my spot. And then this one might be kind of a weird one. Some people don't have one of these. Do you have a rugby idol? Like who's like a player when you were growing up or when you first got in the game that you were like, man, that's the guy's the man.
Well, when I was younger, for the longest time, I mean, when he was still playing, it was Richie McCaw,
Yeah,
and
beast.
yeah, just that ability where he wasn't necessarily in any ways a physical specimen, and I really related to that because even like before rugby, I tried a lot of other sports. I wasn't very athletic, and then I've built that up a bit as I've come up, but that was huge, and his ability to steal the ball at the breakdown, and when a lot of the rules around the breakdown changed, he was able to actually stay competitive and then master the new way they were being handled throughout his career. So that was hugely impressive for me. And then David Pocock in kind of that same light, just a master of the breakdown. Sonny Bill I've always been a huge fan of him, like just with his offloads and his athleticism and being a kind of a multi-sport athlete, just really cool, just an absolute physical specimen. So I always kind of looked up to him, like that's my athletic idol. And then maybe on the less athletic, more the rugby side specifically, would be Richie. But
Yeah, incredible that Sam Whitelock broke that record. I mean, that's unbelievable. Like I think Richie finished with 148 and Sam Whitelock will play in his 152nd test in the final. Crazy.
you know,
Crazy.
he's unreal too. Like just the longevity. Like for the entire time I've been interested in rugby, even watching the All Blacks, he's been there. So
Yeah,
it's
right. That's
it's
pretty
crazy. Just been a
crazy.
mainstay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
him
I
with
think
Vitalik was a crazy duo.
yeah, I think they're the most capped pair as well for lock
Mm.
pair. But that you kind of I think you might have just answered my next question without answering the question. So who are you picking for the World Cup final this weekend? It's got to be the All Blacks.
Who am I picking for the World Cup final? I think it's South Africa. I
Wow.
really like the way that they play. It's it'd be awesome to have a repeat. Uh, to be honest, I haven't
Yeah.
really been following the All Blacks as much. I actually really liked England and Wayne
Same.
Vanderbank,
Same.
who I was watching the last game with. Probably wouldn't be very happy with me, but I was kind of secretly rooting for him.
They almost had it, Ethan. They
Oh,
almost had it.
man.
Yeah, almost,
Yeah.
almost. But
Scrum penalty.
no, South Africa is amazing. I just think like and their ability to bring a bench on and then the whole game has changed. Like the New Zealand bench was good, or is good, but it's not that same game changing ability that I think South
Yeah.
Africa has. So
Yeah, how awkward is that? You know, depending on who wins, how awkward is that Monday morning going to be at the Mint when Coach Scotty and TK and Wheels and they get in there, and it's like if the All Blacks lose, it's going to be kind of like weird because Scotty's going to be walking in with a little bit of pep in his step, you know, or if the other way, he'll be like he might call out sick for like a week. Who knows?
yeah, that's
Not
crazy.
sure.
I mean, I don't believe Scott I think is still back in South Africa at the moment.
Oh,
But
okay.
but TK will be there at our watch party that we have for the final, and so that'll be interesting seeing his reaction whether it goes one way or the other. Him and Wheels and
Yeah, if they're losing and you just start seeing them ignoring calls, and it's probably Coach Matthew from South Africa trying to FaceTime, being like, "Yeah,
You see this? You see this?
yeah,
Yeah.
you check the scoreboard, brew," or however they say it. My South African accent's terrible. But all right. So for the last thing I got here, I came up with this list because I thought, I don't know, that's why they call me the bozo, because I try to be a little bit funny. So this little segment, we're debuting it live. It's called check or hold. Now that's like, I'm in the National Guard, I'm in the Army. It's kind of an Army thing. So check means like, yeah, good to go. Hold means like, whoa, wait a second, not safe. Figure it out, right? So that's what
Okay.
check and hold means. And I'm just gonna say something, and you got to be like check or hold. So you'd be like, if it's check, that means good. Hold means not good. So item number 1, Dunkin' iced coffee in -degree weather. Check or hold?
Check.
Hell yeah. Uggs.
Check. I've got a pair
Wow.
of Ugg slippers on right now. Yeah.
Let's go.
Wow.
Who would have known it?
Yeah.
Pumpkin spice anything. Like
Hold.
anything pumpkin spice. Hold. Okay.
Big hold. Yeah.
Wow, we're an Uggs guy, but no pumpkin spice.
No.
Strange.
My hot
Okay.
girl walks are gonna be incomplete.
Yeah. The New England winter.
Check.
All right. The metric system.
Depends, but on the situation. But check. Yeah.
Oh, okay. If you had given a confident check, I would have been like, well, he's playing for Team Canada. We already know. That's how I was going to smoke you out on that one. That's why I added that one. I added it in the last minute. So I'm referencing the fitness test here. Broncos, check or hold?
Check. It's the best one. It's the easiest one, for sure.
It is. Well, I wouldn't call it easy. I would
No,
not call
it's not easy. They're all as hard as you make them, but it has an end, and the harder you go, the quicker that end is. It's not the yo-yo, which is the worst thing on the face of the planet.
The
Ooh,
yo-yo.
All right. I don't know if you're a big fan of the show. Did you see my Bronco?
No, I didn't.
You
Is
can
it
dig through the
540,
Instagram.
right?
5:35. Come on.
5:35.
Give me
All right,
some.
I
Give me some time.
apologize.
I got
We'll
some.
take that
I got
5
some
seconds
Leo.
back.
Okay.
So not bad, right? Not bad for an old
Yeah, no,
man.
that's not terrible. I've seen a lot of forwards run slower than that.
Let's just say some of your teammates had no confidence in me. They were putting numbers out there like 7. Wow. Shattered them. So
That's
hey, enough about me. We're back to you. This one's kind of like a throw out. The first one was kind of a little tip of the hat. We'll do an outright tip of the hat to Words with Wheelsy. So his last little short there, he tried Twinkies. Are you check or holding on Twinkies?
Old.
Yeah, same. Those things are gross. I heard they can survive a nuclear blast. Why would you want to eat that? I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that's
I've heard
true
that
though.
too.
Yeah. And then hot sauce.
Regardless, not something you want to put in your body. Sorry?
No, hot sauce. Check or hold.
Check.
All right.
Yeah.
And then the last one, how could we leave it out? The Jax Ranger show.
Check.
I thought he was going to be like, hold, and then just leave. That would have been awesome.
He just signs off after that.
Yeah, just signs off in the
Hilarious.
middle thing. All right, man, that's it for me. Thanks for entertaining the questions there. And I mean, you'll have to look up this yo-yo. That might be my next golden oldies prep fitness test. But we're always about the content, and I like to suffer, so I'll get out there.
You don't want to do it though. You don't want to do it.
I know I don't, but I didn't want to do the Bronco either, and so I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll make it.
And I'll film
Sort
it.
of.
There we
I'll
go.
be suffering at the end. That's for
Looking
sure.
forward to it. Looking
Yeah.
forward
Alrighty.
to it.
Stand by.
All right, Ethan. Appreciate you being on here. I've got one final question for you, and we like to, throw this out to everybody, every guest that we have on here, especially players and staff. I'm going to open up the floor for you to speak directly to the Rangers out there, the Free Jacks fan, the hardcore Free Jacks fans. What do you want to say to them?
What do I want to say to them? I just think like the environment we have at Fort Quincy for our home games is something insane. And I grew up like going to Seahawks games. That's a loud stadium, but it almost feels more in down in Quincy because it feels packed every time. And maybe that's a fact of our smaller stadium or whatever and the festivals that we have. But it feels packed. People are actually into it. It's not just like I'm going to go watch this game, whatever. It's everyone's involved. Our cheering section in the middle is huge, and there's some serious characters in there. Some of them Mystic guys, some of them just various rugby fans in the area, but like wow, like that's been a huge change, and just like feeling it around Quincy. Yeah, we have our signs, but then even people in coffee shops, like they know who we are.
Yep.
They know what we're doing. It's such a, it feels like your professional sports team, and just thank you for that, because that's massive, and it completely changes how you're looking at everything. Like when stuff seems a bit hard, or when stuff isn't going great, it's just knowing that you are doing it, you are performing for people who actually care. So
Hell yeah.
that's huge.
100%. And I got news for people out there, that anybody else that's not a Free Jacks fan, an MLR fan, a casual out there that is watching this right now, I've got news for you, and whatever team that you support. We're going to be even louder next season. It's going to be even more intimidating. So if you think it was bad last season for your team, it's going to be even fucking worse next year, Jack. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's going to be so fucking loud you won't be able to hear. So yeah, I'm super excited, because we're going to get a little bit more organized this year. The first regiment is going to be an even bigger thing. So I'm just, I feel bad for any opposing team that's going to be coming into Fort Quincy. They're going to be leaving with ears bleeding and shaking in their boots. Super excited. Ethan, I appreciate you being on here, man. Thank you so much. So glad we were able to get you on the show. And I've got one word for everybody out there in 3, 2, 1. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Woo!